Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm excited for today's video. We're going to be going through all of the products that I am currently trying to pan throughout all of my current projects. I am currently participating in 6 separate project pans. I'll have all of them linked down below in case you're interested in binge watching them, but I'm going to go through and share with you all of the products that I'm currently working on throughout separate project pans, talk to you about like how many products in each category I'm working on, where I'm feeling overwhelmed, how I kind of strategize what I work on each day, and just all of the things. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project panning content, or you just like to chit chat about makeup, I would love if you would consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's get into the video. All right guys, I recently saw Paula from A Beauty Guru Made Me Do It do a video like this, and I was very inspired by her. Also, she and my friend Emily from Emily and Max have posted videos about like their graveyard project pan items. So they go through every project pan that they, or products throughout separate projects, products throughout projects that they have not hit their goal on. So I'll leave both of them linked down below as well as their videos. Definitely go check them out. But let's get into it. Like I said, I am currently participating in 6 separate projects. So I am doing Pan Those Eyeshadows, a rolling project 10 pan, whole collection project pan, deck of panning project pan, Partners in Cream project pan, and the graveyard project pan. I hope that I got all of them. So throughout those 6 projects, I am currently working on 43 separate products. And how I like to, so I like to store my products that are currently in projects separately. So I keep them in this drawer, which is currently empty because everything's sitting in front of me. And this has taken me years to figure out how I want to like separate my products, but I do like to have them in that drawer rather than my makeup acrylic organizers, just because it kind of reminds me like, okay girlfriend, like these are your products, and it's just like visual cues to use those products. I do like to reach into that drawer every single day for at least 2 to 3 items that I'm currently working on panning, but then I also like to use my Shop My Stash or other makeup products in my collection. So I do also like, I have these separators, so I try and do like all of the bronzers that I'm panning are here, so I know like, okay, I'm wanting to reach for a project pan bronzer today. I'm reaching into this little cubby, and then I have blush, highlight, etc. I also have this little bamboo organizer. I got all of these products at Target. I'll try and link them below if I'm on top of my game and can do that before posting. But I try and like organize it as visually appealing as possible so that I can just like look in and be like, okay, I need a lip product today, and then I know exactly where my lip products are rather than them being like scattered throughout the entire drawer. Now let's go category by category and talk about how many products throughout each category I'm currently trying to pan. So in the primer category, I am currently working on 3 separate primers. I'm working on the Glow Recipe Watermelon Glow Niacinamide Dewdrops, the First Aid Beauty Pores Be Gone Matte Primer, as well as the Urban Decay All Nighter Face Primer. So if I am choosing the products that I'm panning, rather than it being like, obviously if it's a random project, so like whole collection project pan, I don't get a say in what I pan. But if I'm choosing the products, I really try to consider all of the other things that I'm working on, so that I'm not working on 2 smoothing primers at a time or 2 moisturizing primers at a time. So I feel like I have a good range of primers that I'm currently working on. I have the Glow Recipe drops, which are just like more hydrating, a little bit glowy. I have the Urban Decay All Nighter, which is more of like a gripping primer. And then I also have the First Aid Beauty, which is a smoothing primer for me. And I feel really good and confident in like my primer category and what I'm trying to pan and reaching my goals there. Then we move on to foundation. Foundation is something that I want to only be working on like 3 foundations at a time, but I also do want to be actively panning foundations because my foundation collection is getting out of control. So I have 3 foundations that I'm currently working on, and I was like, are these in random anyway. So I have 3 foundations that I'm currently working on. I have my Tarte Maracuja Tinted Hydrator, and then I also have my Dior Face and Body, which is, so this is my lightest coverage. This steps up just a little bit in coverage, but it's definitely more of like a summer foundation for me. And then I'm also working on the Givenchy Prism Glow foundation, which actually does have more coverage than I was anticipating and is more mattifying than I was anticipating. So I also feel like I have a pretty good range in foundations. With foundations, again, I try and keep a range rather than only focusing on like all tinted moisturizers or all like really glowy foundations. As much as I can, I want to keep the products that I'm working on like very different from one another. For concealer, I am only working on one concealer. It's my Kosas Revealer Concealer. Concealer is something that I do like to pan because concealer is just kind of like neither here nor there for me. So I do feel like with concealer, I am fine with using the same concealer every single day. With my Kosas one, it's a little bit light for me right now. So I do have to like mix this with other concealers, which kind of sucks. I don't like to work on any more than like 2 concealers at a time because again, I'm someone who can use the same concealer every day, and if I'm working on more than 2, it just feels like a lot, especially because for me, concealer takes a long time for me to get through. For powder, I'm only currently working on one powder. Powder is not something I feel the need to pan. It's just not something I get excited about panning. I would say working on one powder at a time is good for me. And this one was actually just randomly generated for me, so it's not something I've actively selected to put in a project pan, but I am working on the under eye setting powder in the Cali Contour Kit from Smashbox. Then we move on to the bronzer category. I am currently working on 4 bronzers. This year, I'm just trying to hit pan on bronzers rather than using bronzers up. I would say I would like to only work on like 2 cream/liquid and 2 powder bronzers at a time. Even 1 powder bronzer over 2 would really be ideal for me. Bronzer is something that I also like to rotate through my bronzer collection, and I do not like to stick to the same bronzer every day. So if I'm trying to pan too many bronzers, it starts to feel overwhelming too, because then I feel like I don't see the progress, and if I don't see progress, I get really discouraged. But the 4 bronzers I'm working on my Marc Jacob Tantastic, which has proven to be a feat. I thought I would have hit pan on this so much earlier. This is something like I use on like my ears. I like use it on like my neck and chest to like even everything out, and still no pan on this. So that has been a feat. Then I'm also working on my Kevyn Aucoin sculpting powder. I don't love just like contour anymore, and this is something that I'm working on in my Graveyard Project pan. I would love to finish this up. I don't feel like I'll finish it by the end of this year because I just do not contour all that often. So contour is something I feel like I could completely phase out of my makeup collection and be happy with. Recently, I rolled in my Milk Makeup Bronzing Stick into my whole collection project pan. This is such a large product. I would never choose to actually just actively work on this in a project. 1, because I do enjoy reaching for this just on its own, but 2, this is a product I feel like can feel really discouraging because you get so much product in this. I worked on this in a whole collection project pan last year, I believe, and reached for it 50 times. And by 50 uses, it was like it wasn't even, I don't know how to describe this, but there just was not a lot of progress because you don't need a lot of this, and progress is just very slow going. I'm excited to work on this. If I could finish this up before it went bad, which I'm about halfway done with this product, which I'm really proud of myself for, I would be so proud even more if I could actually finish that up. And then my Partners in Cream, I rolled in this Tarte Sea Breezy Bronzer. Spoiler alert, that update's going up in just a few days. I have hit pan on this, but I do think I am going to try to just finish this bronzer up because I think this will be the only bronzer that I finish this year. This is a mini bronzer. Cream bronzers, I do feel like I can use up more quickly if it's not the Milk one. So if I could always be actively working on like 1 cream and 1 powder bronzer, I would be happy. Hopefully I can finish this by the end of the year. I've learned my lesson with powder blushes. I don't enjoy panning them because literally you could work on a powder blush for a year and not hit pan, and it's the most discouraging thing in the world. So I did decide to roll 1 powder bronzer into my Rolling Project 10 pan just to track my progress, see how it goes. But liquid and cream blush I'm okay with working on just because they go bad more quickly. I do have 5 blushes that I am currently working on, and only one of them was randomly selected for me. The one that was randomly selected is Becca Flower Child. I gave myself a usage goal on this, which is typically what I do with powder blushes. The powder blush that I'm working on in my Rolling Project 10 pan is the Buxom Seychelles. It's one of my favorite blushes. So that's where I was like, you know what? I know I'm not going to reach for it every day, but it'd be fun to just kind of track my progress and track my use for the rest of the year. If I could hit pan in the meantime, that would be amazing, but I'm not banking on that. And then I have 3 cream/liquid blushes. So I have this little mini Nude Sticks Nudies. I was kind of looking through my blush collection and wanted to see, was there anything I felt like I could finish up this year just to roll out of my collection and decrease my makeup inventory. Shameless plug, I will put my makeup inventory down below if you want to catch that. I'm almost done with this. This is going to be another spoiler for my Partners in Cream update, but I do feel like I'll finish this year, which is exciting. And then I have 2 liquid blushes I'm working on. I have the Glossier Cloud Paint in Beam, as well as the Charlotte Tilbury Peach Gasm. For the highlight category, I have 4 powder highlights that I'm working on. Honestly, highlight is something that I do have a large highlight collection, but I do like to actively work on highlights because I feel like I've had decent luck hitting pan on them, and it's really exciting when you hit pan on a highlight. So one of the highlights that was just randomly rolled into my whole collection was my Fenty Kilowatt highlight, which I already have a huge pan on, and I'm trying to finish up this side, so I am actively working on that. I also have my Milk Makeup highlight, the powder version of Lit, which is beautiful. And then I have 2 like blush topper highlight shades. In my Kosas Duo, I am working on this like blush topper highlight shade, which is so beautiful. I do think I'll hit pan on this pretty soon, and I'm so excited for that. And then also I depotted one of these shades out of a Smashbox trio, and I'm currently working on that as well. I'm hopeful I can hit pan this year, and I would be so excited. I used to be all about finishing up products and having like all the empties, which I'm still like, I love to have makeup empties, but I would like to see more pan in my makeup collection as well. In the highlight category, I would be okay with working on a liquid highlight. I do feel like that's something that like isn't currently in the mix of my products that I'm panning that I would be okay with working on, but those are the highlights that I'm working on. Moving on to the lip category. I am trying to get through lots of lip products this year, but I do feel like I feel like this is a little bit out of control, but some of it is due to being in my whole collection project pan. So I'm working on 11 total lip products, 2 of them being lip liners. So I have my Urban Decay lip liner in Ex-Girlfriend. Of course it's mowing time. I can't. This is so frustrating. I am just gonna finish this. Should I pause? No, I'm gonna finish this video and I'll scream, and I'm sorry. Also, my Bodyography lip liner I'm working on. I have 4 lip glosses that I'm working on, 3 of them being minis, and I do feel like I get through mini lip gloss pretty quickly. I've been really successful with finishing lip glosses this year. So I have 2 Fenty Beauty gloss bombs, one in Confetti, one in Ruby Milk. Then I also have this little mini Dose of Color lip gloss that I'm working on, as well as the Tarte H2O gloss in Zipline. I have 2 liquid lipsticks that I'm working on. I have this Laura Geller liquid lipstick in the shade Ruby Romance, and then I also have this little mini Rare Beauty. I'm hoping to get through this. This is a more comfortable formula, and I rolled this into my Rolling Project 10 pan in hopes that I could just finish this up, finish up a liquid lipstick, and decrease that makeup inventory, that category. And then I have 3 lipsticks that I'm currently working on. I have the Tarte Splash, what are these? Tarte Color Splash in Rum Punch, as well as Surf's Up and my Kaja Earhart. I will say this is a lot of lipsticks to be working on. One of them was randomly selected for my whole collection project pan. 2 of them I have selected. Lipsticks take me a while, but I do also kind of like to have lipsticks in my projects because for some reason I struggle to pick out lipsticks, and I feel like I just ignore my lipstick collection unless I'm actively working on them in projects. So 3 is probably the max I would want to be working on, but yeah, that's kind of how I feel about that. Liquid lipsticks, 2 would probably be the max I would want to work on. And then lip gloss, if these were all full-size lip glosses, I would feel super overwhelmed, but because I have quite a few minis, I'm not feeling as overwhelmed. Now that we don't have to wear our masks and stuff at work, I'm getting so much more use out of my lip glosses as well, so I don't really feel overwhelmed with the 4 lip glosses. And then as far as lip liners, I never wear them, so having lip liners in projects actually is exciting because it encourages me to actually use that category in my makeup collection. 2 feels like a good amount. Honestly, even if this was like 3, but there was a range of shades, I would be okay with that. And then we're gonna finish it up with the eye category. I am currently working on 12 separate eye products. I am doing the Pan Those eyeshadows, so I obviously have 5 different eyeshadow palettes that I'm working on. And I will say, doing the Pan Those eyeshadows and working on other eye products on top of that does get to be a lot. So usually I either do like a usage goal on a palette if I roll a palette into another project, so just like use that palette 10 times rather than try and work on panning more than 5 to 6 shadows at a time, because that can really start to feel overwhelming. So I do have a shade in my Huda Nude Medium palette. I'll link my Pan Those eyeshadows if you want to actually see like what shades I'm working on. My Natasha Denona Mini Retro, Urban Decay Stone Vibes, Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde, and then the Alter Ego Artemist palette. So on top of those palettes, I also have one eyeshadow primer that I'm working on, which is my Urban Decay Primer Potion. I would never want to work on more than one eye primer at a time because this will take me at least the year to get through this product. And then I have 2 MAC pigments. I have 2 pigments that I'm working on. I rolled this into my Deck of Panning project pan for the Joker card, which you're supposed to select a product that you like really don't want to pan. So I would not be working on these if it wasn't for that project. And I probably would never reach for these also if they weren't in a project. It's very eye-opening to kind of think about the things that you really wouldn't want to pan and then question like why they're even in your makeup collection. But I have enjoyed using those pigments. And then finally, I have a single shadow that I'm working on from JD Glow. I'm working on the shade Good God. In one of my projects, I rolled this in for a Black-owned makeup brand. So I knew I was actively putting a single shadow in, but I do also like to roll in the occasional single shadows because then it like gets me excited about my single shadow collection and makes me reach for my single shadows a little bit more often. And then I have 2 ColourPop Super Shock shadows. I have been just rolling in my ColourPop Super Shocks throughout my Partners in Cream project pan, just to always be working on a ColourPop Super Shock at least 1 at a time. I probably wouldn't want to work on more than 2 at a time, just because they're not something I reach for on a day-to-day basis. And while ColourPop Super Shock shadows are easy to hit pan on, these suckers take forever to actually use up, because I am working on this shade. I worked on this shade Extra Sprinkles, which was part of their Halo Top collection a couple years ago. I have been working on this in a whole like year-long project pan, and now this is in my Graveyard project pan, and I've been using it, but I just feel like there's literally no progress. So ColourPop Super Shocks take forever. That is why I want to actively always be working on at least 1. But those are all of the products that I am currently working on panning. If you are a panner, I would love to know, how do you kind of like strategize what you're using, what you're like really heavily focused on, like what are you using every single day? How do you structure this if you are working on a ton of products? Would love your feedback or just commentary down below. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch today's video. I hope you enjoyed this one. I love just talking about project panning, so this was a fun one to film. But thank you guys for supporting me as you always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.